Hello guys, and Akwaba to a new episode. Today I'm going to talk about the 6D Mark II. This is a beautiful camera and I love it. I've used it a lot of times for a lot of projects and it has been amazing. It has been amazing. So today I'm going to break down the 6D Mark II, share with you some of the things that I love about the camera and share my thoughts on the camera as well. So let's get into the video. So the 6D Mark II is a full frame Canon camera, which is the big brother to the legendary 6D. This camera has a 26 megapixel sensor, and one of the things that I love about this camera that the 6D doesn't have is a reliable autofocus. The autofocus in this camera isn't really the best, but I think it does an amazing job when it comes to autofocus. So this camera uses an LP6 battery, which is a legendary Canon batteries that you could find in the 6Ds, the 5Ds, the Canon R6, the Canon R5. One thing that will make me probably go in for the 6D Mark II over the 5D Mark IV, which is also a very awesome camera, would be the size and the weight of this camera. So currently I have the 16 to 35 lens on this camera, and this combination is a beast. It's a beast, especially when you mount this camera on a gimbal. The 5D Mark IV is a very good camera, but then it's heavy. So this camera generally has like an average spec that I think in any scenario you could use this camera and get stunning images. But then there's one thing that this camera doesn't have, and that is 4K. But then for me, 4K is really not an issue for me because most of the jobs that I do or most of the clients that I work for don't normally ask for 4K videos. So it's not shooting 4K isn't really a problem for me. But then I think anytime someone needs a 4K video, I'll just go out there and rent one. That's not a big deal. And this camera shoots at 1080p 60 frames per second, and I think that is awesome because with a 6D to get 60 frames per second you have to go down to 720p. So it being able to shoot 23 or 24 frames per second at 1080p and also do that 60 at 1080p, I believe is the sweet spot. The question now is, who is this camera for? I think this camera is for the single shooters out there, people that don't normally have a large number of crew could probably use this camera easily because it has a very good autofocus. You can rely on the autofocus. I rely on the autofocus most of the time. So I think for single shooters, this is probably a very awesome camera. Secondly, I think it's for people that do more of social media content, sometimes filming yourself and all those things. I think this camera could also shine in that area. And for people that do commercials that don't require 4K resolution, I think this camera is a beast also in that sector. Now, comparing this camera to the Canon R7, which was released just a while ago. First of all, this camera is a full frame camera, but the Canon R7 isn't. And the reason why I'm comparing this camera to the R7 is the price range. Even though this is a full frame camera and that is a crop sensor camera, one thing that camera has is the new ecosystem. Canon is moving into a new ecosystem with the RF lenses and the R cameras. And I believe if you start plugging into that particular ecosystem, you could feature proof yourself. So and for cameras such as the Red Komodo and the C70, which are cinema cameras, also having the RF system is also a plus, because anytime you want to upgrade from these a mirrorless camera, that is the R system, to a cinema camera, you could easily do that. So I think with that, the advantage that R7 has over this, one of the advantages will be the lens mount that it has. I think another thing that that camera also has is it has much more better processor than this camera. The autofocus is way better than this camera. The one thing I like about the R7 that this camera doesn't have is the R7 is capable of shooting log profile, which is amazing. So guys, that would be my take on the 6D Mark II. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and put on your notification bells so you get updated anytime I make new videos. See you soon.